So in the earlier lecture I talked about vector and scalar fields. So today I am going to talk about a very important concept, that is gradient of a scalar field, right? So for this, consider a scalar field. Phi r, like this. So this is a coordinate axis. See, this is x-axis, this is y-axis, and this is z-axis. And say this is a region of scalar field, and over this consider a surface over which this is the value of the scalar field, and let us consider a nearby another surface. These two surfaces are very closer, and at this surface let this be the value of the scalar field at this surface. So it is a surface S1 and it is the surface S2. Now consider a point P. Point P in scalar field with position vector R. It is xi cap, yj cap, and zk cap, right? So say this is a point P which I am considering. And say I have also considered a nearby point, and let me call it as r plus delta r. So that means this is r vector and this vector is r plus delta r. This is a point over the another surface. Because I talked about in the earlier lecture that these such type of surfaces at which the value of the scalar field will remain the same, these are known as level surfaces. These are known as the level surfaces. And let me connect this to this vector. Then this is the delta r. So sorry, this is delta, and this is delta r vector also, right? That's it. So therefore if phi is dependent upon r, then phi r, it can be written like this, that it is a function of x, y, and z also. So this be the scalar field at point P. At point P, if we recall the definition of scalar field, then it was stated that it should be continuous and differentiable. That means this phi should be, according to definition, should be continuous and differentiable. Since what's the meaning of it, that it should be differentiable, and what we are getting out of it? So phi is continuous and differentiable, and phi is not a function of single variable, but it is depending upon x, y, and z. That means another thing which we have to keep in mind, that phi changes in x and y, changes with change in x, y and z. Therefore curly phi over curly x, curly phi over curly y and curly phi over curly z, these all denote what? They denote the rate of change of phi with respect to x. It denotes the rate of change of phi with respect to y, and this also denotes the rate of change of phi with respect to z. Since phi is differentiable, so that means d phi exists, and it can be written as curly phi over curly x into dx plus curly phi over curly y dy, curly phi over curly z dz. And this I have written from the definition of differential. This is from the definition of differential. And another thing out of this, what we are concluding, that this suggests that phi has different rate of, phi has different, these three suggest that phi has different rate of variation along different directions. Also, with these partial derivatives, that is curly phi over curly x, curly phi over curly y, curly phi over curly z, we can construct a vector, at point in space, This vector is called gradient of phi, which can be written as gradient phi, right, which we have to keep in mind. So therefore gradient phi, it can be written as curly phi over curly x I cap, curly phi over curly y j cap, curly phi over curly z k cap, or it can be written as curly over curly x I cap, curly over curly y j cap plus curly over curly z k cap phi, and this is basically del phi. Here del is known as vector differential. Del is known as, or this symbol, this is known as del, is known as vector differential operator, or is called del operator. So here del vector is not a vector, it's not a vector but an operator which obey, del is a operator which obey laws of vectors. So that means today we have defined a new quantity that is basically a operator and which obeys the laws of vectors, right? So that's it for the gradient of some function or the some scalar field, right? So that's it.